The Trump administration and its federal troops on the ground in Illinois must wear their body cameras and have them on for recording. So says federal judge Sara Ellis, who's modified her temporary restraining order, which centers around making sure that journalists, peaceful protesters, and members of the clergy are not attacked by the Trump administration and its forces on the ground. We have many cases of her order, which has been in place for about a week, already being violated, where she ordered that the use of crowd control devices, rubber bullets, tear gas, only be used after a couple of warnings are given to disperse to the crowd. Apparently, there's video from local television and media like ABC on the ground in Chicago that shows that since Judge Ellis's order, there have been violations. There have been use of tear gas and other things without warning. And then the Trump administration says, well, because of the shutdown, we just don't have the cameras, and they're not wearing their cameras, Your Honor. That's not good enough for Judge Ellis. She's modified her temporary restraining order. We're going to cover it all right here, including Donald Trump's administration's reaction to it all on Legal AF. Welcome to Sunday Morning. I'm Michael Popok, traveling in California. Congratulations first for all the people that took to the streets and otherwise and protested the Trump administration during No King's Day. I mean, I think when the final numbers come in, it's going to be tens of millions of people. And it matters. And it matters what happens on the streets with peaceful protests. And that's why judges like Judge Ellis, who issued an order about protecting how federal forces treat and how the civil liberties of people on the streets are protected. And that's important to her. So she pulled everybody back together again, and she said she's profoundly concerned, these are her words from her hearing, that the Trump administration and its shock troops on the ground who are not trained for civil disobedience, who are not trained how to de-escalate, have committed acts that have violated her temporary restraining order. She's modified her temporary restraining order, and she's ordered that Russell Holt, who is the head of the field offices for the Custom and Border Patrol, show up in her courtroom tomorrow to testify live about the body cameras, about what's going on in the streets, and if her order has been violated. And all of this is important. Now, Donald Trump's rapid response team reacts that she's an activist judge and that she's not able to order any of these things. Here's what one of their press secretaries said. The Department of Homeland Security will continue to oppose all efforts to vilify law enforcement and prop up the cause of violent rioters. Were a court to enter such an order in the future, that would be an extreme act of judicial activism. What the judge said to the lawyer for the Department of Homeland Security is, this helps you. The cameras will help you because it'll give us a clear record. See, they don't want a clear record. They want the cameras off. They want the cameras covered up. And they don't want the American people to see how they're being abused and other Americans are being abused on the streets. We're not talking about Tren de Aragua on the streets of Illinois. We're not talking about violent migrant workers. We're talking about Americans. We're talking about patriots. We're talking about people who are running towards the cannon fire and not away from it at great personal sacrifice. And all the judge asks is that when you interact with them, when you interact with the clergy, you don't fire a pepper ball into their face. When you interact with a journalist who's clearly identified as a journalist, you don't throw them to the ground or make them stop recording or stop reporting what is going on. At times, I thought I was watching outtakes from Civil War, the movie. I mean, it's just outrageous that the fact that she even had to enter an order to stop. It's not a natural tendency. It's not a natural behavior or conduct. You have to be told in a written federal court order not to fire your weapons at clergy and journalists and peaceful protesters, not to use outrageous military ordinance against Americans on the streets. That you have to be told that. And then you've got to come back to there has to be another hearing because there's film and clips that have been supplied to Judge Ellis, which demonstrate to her that her order has been violated. Of course she wants Russell Holt. She wants a live person to show up and testify about whether her order has been violated or not. I'm going to show you some clips that we have from the streets, showing that after her order was entered, bad things happened in violation of her order. Let's run the clips.
That's what you're doing. This is what you guys do. This is what you guys do. This is what you guys do. You still can't go nowhere. You still can't go nowhere. You still can't go nowhere. That's what you do to American citizens. They're going to get arrested. And so are you.
Nah, hell no. Do that shit.
Do that. We have American rights.
Yeah, nah, there's no cameras around. We're good. There's a lot of cameras around. Everyone's got this. Fuck you.
Make sure your video recording and not Facebook Live. Facebook Live doesn't need to pay. Hold on, I'm going to back right now.
Look, that's what they wanted.
Grab her and get her out of here. Grab her and get her out of here. Hey, watch out. Back up, back up. Get out of the way. You not in front. Hey. That's the soap.
Hey.
And this is what she's talking about. This is why the plaintiffs ran back to the judge and said, we need an emergency hearing. And she granted it. And now, even though you can tell the Trump administration doesn't like it, she has modified her temporary restraining order. Just to give a quick tutorial on injunctions, lowest level of injunction is an administrative stay. It lasts for sometimes hours, maybe a day or so. If a party can prove the 4 elements to entitle them to a temporary restraining order on an emergency basis or otherwise, that they have inadequate remedy at law, that they are being irreparably harmed, that the balance of equities tips in their favor, and they're likely to prevail at trial, a judge does the extraordinary thing and grants under their equity powers an injunction. It stays in place, that temporary restraining order, usually until there's full briefing, an evidentiary hearing, and then a preliminary injunction, or maybe a permanent injunction. In the meantime, people can try to take appeals. Generally, appellate courts stay away from temporary restraining order appeals because they wait to see what happens in the preliminary injunction and the full record. In the interim, since we're on Illinois, there's been an emergency application filed by the Trump administration to the United States Supreme Court about the Illinois decision by the 7th Circuit just a couple of days ago to block the deployment of National Guard troops, not the mobilization, the commandeering takeover of the troops. That is left for the appeal. But they're keeping the troops in the National Guard from whatever state in the barracks. John Sauer, the Solicitor General, files his emergency appeal. He argues that the president's powers are being improperly limited by federal judges. But right now, as of Sunday morning, the Supreme Court has not yet done anything to stop the 7th Circuit and allow Donald Trump to flood the streets of Illinois and other places with National Guard. as of right now. Fast-moving story. We'll continue to follow it. That's at the Supreme Court level. Interesting that the Trump administration did not take the appeal from anything in California or Oregon. Took it from Illinois. They could have taken it from, there's a Ninth Circuit decision that's similar to the Seventh Circuit, but they didn't appeal that to the Supreme Court. I think that's because they believe they're going to get a favorable ruling out of the Ninth Circuit in the Trump administration's favor. In Illinois, they're worried that it's going to go the wrong way. I think it's early and premature. I think at the temporary restraining order level, at the administrative stay level, which is what the Seventh Circuit is doing in Illinois, it's too early for the Supreme Court to get involved on an incomplete record on an emergency application. But we will continue to follow it right here on Legal AF. Now is the time to support what we do on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button. Come over to Legal AF Substack, do the exact same thing. We got to circle the wagons now. We have to defend what we're doing here on Legal AF and all things about independent commentary without corporate parents. YouTube is owned by Google. YouTube and Google are in negotiations with the Trump administration. We need to protect ourselves here. So if you can swing it, become a subscriber here on YouTube, become a paid member, $7 a month over on Legal AF Substack. And until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.